everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Christina and today is the Mystery Box Challenge. I'm sure that most of you have heard of the Mystery Box Challenge by now, but if you haven't, it was created by Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap. She gets a group of DIYers together. We're each assigned someone from the group that we have to send a box of 10 items to. In those 10 items, 2 of them have to be challenge items. There's also a twist every time around and then also a guest host. I'm super excited this time because I get to be the guest host, which means I get to choose the theme of the box and then all of the items that we had to send each other. So for the theme, I chose for it to be Gingerbread and Candy Cane Lane since we are moving right along into the Christmas season. And then for the items that we had to send, I wanted us to send 3 of those items as sender's choice, a wood item, a ribbon or fabric, and then cardstock or some sort of paper, and then cooking utensil, stems or picks, and then for the challenge items, one of them could be a sender's choice, and then for the second one, I wanted it to be an item from the recycle. So then for the twist, I wanted everybody to include like pipe cleaners or Chanel stems into every single one of the DIYs. I thought it was a really cute theme and I'm super excited to see what everybody comes up with. This time around, I sent my box over to Kelly Barlow at Kelly Barlow Creations, and then the box that I'm going to be opening today is from Lisa over at Dollar Mom. So let's go ahead and open up the box to see what Lisa sent. Here's the package that Lisa sent. She wrapped it up so cute in some nice candy cane striped wrapping paper. She put this side up, so I know that's where I need to open it, and I'm trying to locate some scissors so I can't cut the tape. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm in a new craft area. We just moved, and I just got things kind of set up. I haven't filmed in here yet, so if you notice anything different, which it kind of looks the same, but that's why, it's because I have a new craft space in our new home. Okay, I found like a Leatherman with a little knife, so I'm just gonna use that to open up the box. All right, first thing I noticed is she put some really cute candy cane tissue paper there on top. Okay, so it looks like she has everything labeled. We have these, which say sender's choice. These are gonna go perfect for the gingerbread theme. I love those. Thanks, Lisa. Let's see, this one says it's the paper item. So let's open it up. And even this little ribbon, it says Bah Humbug. How cute is that? Oh, that's pretty. So like a nice piece of Christmas cardstock. We have a wood item. This is an X. Not sure. I think I kind of have an idea maybe already. And then we've got, oh, some ribbon. Oh, these are so cute. We got gingerbread and candy cane. Those are adorable. Oh, how cute. This one's cute too. This is the cooking utensil, and it came with like the spatula and the little cookie cutters, and it's gingerbread themed. Those are adorable. So cute. Okay, this is a sender's choice, just like a little metal tin here. These are great to have. Yeah, there's so many things you can do with things like this, so I'm not scared. Oh, I didn't even see. So she had, looks like, sent a card, and it's so cute. Since I'm already opening the box, I'll read this last. We'll get into this. Sender's choice says, live life in full bloom, and it's just like some little flowers, but these kind of look like snowflakes, so that should be okay. I'm not scared about these. So far, so good. All right, this one is a stem or pick. So we have tulips, which tulips aren't, you know, Christmas themed, but you can change these and make them into something else. Okay, so this one is the recycle. So this is a challenge item. I'm going to set this aside. And then we have, oh, okay, so she sent a little extra. She sent the, not picks. This, gosh, I cannot even talk. The Chanel stems. Okay. And then last in the box is challenge item number 2. And again, look at how cute this paper is. Little gingerbread paper. So cute. All right, I'm going to read her card before I open the challenge items. It says, "'Tis the season," and I'm pretty sure she made this. It's so cute. It says, "Christina, first off, I want to send warm wishes to your new home. Now for this challenge. Try to be more nice than naughty, Lisa." Oh, good. I'm so glad. And obviously I've already opened the items before I read the card, but I know that you're being nice. So thank you, Lisa, because things have been a little crazy with the move. I haven't even filmed anything yet in the house until this video right now. Okay, back to the challenge items. So challenge item number 1 came in a cute little bag. I could probably use the bag for something. I can get it untied. Okay. It's just a soap dispenser. Not too bad, not too bad. That could have been pretty much anything, so I'm glad I got that. And then for another item, oh no. Okay, yep, we're almost at Halloween. We're like a week out from Halloween now, and she sent me this skeleton. I don't know, can I just like put a little hat on him and make a Christmas theme? I don't know. This one's probably going to be really hard. Thank you for being nice to me for the rest of the items, Lisa. I'm super excited to get crafting since I haven't in such a long time. That was everything that Lisa sent, so let's go ahead and get crafting. For the first DIY today, I'm going to be starting out with one of the items that Lisa sent me, which is this metal tin. And I just really wanted to take the bottom out of this piece, so I'm just using some pliers and pulling away all of the edges because I want the bottom part to look like a baking sheet. I'm also going to be using this cutting board that I had in my craft stash, and I'm just going to be painting it with some white chalk paint. I'm also going to be using these 2 mini cutouts from Hobby Lobby. It is a rolling pin and an oven mitt, and I'm just going to be switching up the color, and I'm painting both of them with some red paint. After the red paint was all dry, I then wanted to add some detail, so I took my white paint marker and I added 2 stripes on the rolling pin, and then on the oven mitt I added some stitching marks around all of the edges. Then I took some hot glue and attached my baking sheet on the right hand side, and then also attached the oven mitt and the rolling pin on the top and bottom of the baking sheet. And then using these clothespin gingerbread men that Lisa sent in my box, I'm just going to be popping off the gingerbread men, and I'm going to be placing them onto my baking sheet. But before I attach them, I'm going to be using some of these alphabet beads that I had in my craft stash to spell out the word bakery on the front of my rolling pin. So here you can see I'm just hot gluing each one of those beads down. Then I'm going to be going back in with the hot glue and attaching all of my gingerbread men on my baking sheet. To add some more detail, I'm using these unfinished wood snowflakes from my stash. I painted both of them brown so that they can look like a gingerbread cookie, and then once that brown paint was dry, I went in with my white puffy paint and added what looked like frosting on the top of both of the snowflakes. Then I'm attaching them to the top and bottom sides of my baking sheet. I then went into Cricut Design Space and cut out one of their designs here that says Baking Spirits Bright, and I transferred it onto my cutting board. I then wanted to add a little bit more detail on the bottom, so I'm taking this red and white striped craft paper and I'm just seeing like how I want it to be on the bottom. As you can see, I did pull off the baking sheet because I wanted to add the paper. So here I just cut the paper down so that it will fit on the bottom part of my cutting board, and then I'm using some Mod Podge to attach that paper. And then once I have the paper all glued down, instead of cutting away the edge, I went ahead and used some sandpaper and just sanded away the excess paper, and it leaves me with a nice crisp edge. I'm then going to be going back in and reattaching that baking sheet, and then this is where I'm going to be using some of the ribbon that Lisa sent in my box to create a bow. I'm starting with the candy cane ribbon, and I'm creating what looks like 4 little loops here, and then to attach them all together I'm using a red chenille stem. So once I have that one made, I'm then going to move on to the gingerbread ribbon. I'm doing the same thing, creating 4 larger loops here, and then to hold those all together I'm using another chenille stem, and then just attaching those 2 together to create one big bow. I'm then going in and cutting off the ends of the stems, and then also making the tails of my bow or my ribbon a lot shorter. I'm then going to be using some hot glue to attach that bow at the top of the cutting board. And then this is what the piece looks like all finished. I was able to use 3 of the items that Lisa sent me in my box to create this piece. I think it is so festive and cute, and I would love to know what you guys think of this one. Moving right into DIY number 2. For this one, I'm going to be using this piece that Lisa sent in my box. I'm going to be putting the top piece away for another project, and then the ones that are flowers I'm just pulling off of the strip that they originally came on. I personally think they kind of look like snowflakes, so I'm going to be creating these into snowflake gingerbread cookies. So here I am just painting all 4 of them brown. Then once the brown paint was dry, I went ahead and went in with my white puffy paint, and I started just making what looks like frosting on all 4 of the snowflakes, or now gingerbread cookies. And since I am going to be making this into a wreath, I needed something circle shaped, so I'm just using this wire wreath form from my stash, and then some of these greenery stems from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just pulling the greenery off of their stems, and then I'm just going to be hot gluing each piece onto the wire, going all the way around. Once I had the first layer of greenery added, I decided I wanted to add a little bit more fullness, so I went ahead and went in with a second layer of the greenery. Then I wanted to add a few smaller snowflakes, so I had these from Hobby Lobby that were originally on a garland, and I just cut them off. I'm going to be painting the back sides of them with that same brown color that I used on the bigger snowflakes, and then once that paint was dry, I went in with the puffy paint once again to add what looks like frosting on my little miniature cookies. I'm then going through and hot gluing all of the larger snowflakes on my greenery wreath, and then I'm going to be adding the smaller ones in between all of the larger ones. Once I have those added, I did need to add my chenille stems, so I'm using these red and white ones, and I'm just going to be creating 2 candy cane shaped pieces. I'm then hot gluing them together in a crisscross along the front, and then I'm going to be taking another chenille stem that's all red, creating a really simple bow, and then just hot gluing that in the center of my candy canes. This is a detail piece, so I'm just going to be adding it to my wreath on the left hand side. And this is what the wreath looks like all finished. I think it is super cute. I hope that you guys like this one too. I ended up just laying it here on my table to show you what it looks like, because I still have all of my home decor packed away and I have no hooks to hang this on currently. Moving right along into DIY number 3. For this project, I'm going to be starting out with this X cutout that Lisa sent in my box. What I ended up doing was cutting the X apart because I thought it looked like the letters J and Y, and then the little leftover piece I'm going to use for the top of my letter J. And then I'm also using this piece that came on those flowers that Lisa sent me, and this is going to be the base for my project. Then for that square bottom base piece, I'm painting that red, and then for my letters J and Y, I'm painting those with a white chalk paint. I'm then going to be attaching the square or rectangle piece on the top of my J. And then to add some detail to both of my letters, I'm going to be gluing some of this red and white string going right in the middle of both of my letters. Then I'm going to be taking this little gingerbread man that I have, I think from Walmart last year, and I'm just going to be hot gluing him in the center of my base, and then the J on the left, and then the Y on the right hand side. And do you guys remember the skeleton that Lisa sent? Well, it also makes noises. How terrifying is that? I didn't realize that it did that when I opened the box. But here I'm just going to be tearing the skeleton apart because I do need to use him. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, but what I ended up doing was cutting a few little pieces from him, and I'm going to be using those on my gingerbread man, which I ended up taking off of the platform, and then I'm just going to be adding some detail to him. So you can see I cut little balls, and those are going to be for the buttons on my gingerbread man, and I'm just going to be attaching those with some hot glue. I had also cut off one of the fingers from the skeleton, and I'm using that as the mouth for my gingerbread man. And then I'm using some red puffy paint for the eyes, and then I'm using some white puffy paint just to add the details on my gingerbread man. And then once I have that on, I ended up going over the buttons in his mouth with black paint. And then since I need to add a chenille stem, I'm using this red and white one as the scarf on my gingerbread man, and then just reattaching him to the base. This is the project all finished. I think it turned out pretty cute. I had no idea what to do with the skeleton. I will be using more pieces of them later on, so stick around. Next up is DIY number 4. For this one, I'm going to be using the cookie cutter that Lisa sent in my box, along with some of this brown bake clay. So I'm just going to be mushing it down and rolling it out to the thickness that I want my gingerbread man to be. I then just cut him out of the clay, and then I did bake it at 275 for 15 minutes since it is the baked clay. And then I'm going to be using this gingerbread cookies cutout or printable that I printed. I did purchase it from Etsy, and I'm just getting it cut out. And then as you can see, I am using this unfinished wood like little cutting board from Hobby Lobby. I'm painting it with some white chalk paint, and then I'm using one of these mini wooden spoons also from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just painting the handle of it red. I'm then going to hot glue one of those green clothespins that had the gingerbread men on them. Well, I'm just going to be hot gluing that on my cutting board to put my little printable on. And then with the spoon, I ended up adding some of this red and white twine with a little bow, and then I used some of the white puffy paint in the spoon, and then just placed one of those mini gingerbread men that Lisa sent right in that paint. I ended up adding some red paint along the edges of my cutting board just for some added detail, and now I'm going to start putting more of the details on. What I forgot to show you is that I used puffy paint on my gingerbread man, but you can see it was just really simple with the design, and here I'm just hot gluing all of the little details on the cutting board. But I did want to add a few more, so what I ended up doing was taking some of this red, green, and white rope and just tying it in the hole on the top of the cutting board. And then I used this red and white chenille stem to create a candy cane, and then I'm just going to be gluing that onto the clothespin. I am going to be creating some more little cookies. I took some of these mini snowflakes that I had, I painted them brown, and then I'm using some puffy paint over top to add frosting to it, and then I just went ahead and hot glued that on, and then also added a little peppermint at the top. This is what the piece looks like all finished. I had so much fun creating this one. I think it is super cute, and I just love all of the little details. I hope you like this one too. Moving right along into DIY number 5. For this one, I'm going to be using one of the challenge items, the recycled item that Lisa sent. It's this soap dispenser. I just took the lid or the pump off and then took the tags off the front and back, and here I'm just tapping on some white chalk paint to fully cover it. Then once it was dry, I added some of this red and white twine. I wrapped it around a few times and then created a really cute little bow. I'm then using some of these greenery stems from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just tucking them right in the top here. I then thought it would be really cute to add some of these red and white chenille stems, but I wanted them to be really curly. So here I'm just wrapping them around a paintbrush to create a little curlicue. I'm just going to pull it apart a little bit and then fold it in half. And then just going to stick that right in the top of my little bottle around all of the greenery. And I ended up doing that for another one as well because I wanted to have this red and white going throughout all of my greenery. Remember when I said I was going to use more of that skeleton? Well, here I'm taking his leg and I'm just going to be cutting off the bones on the bottom because these are going to be part of my little candy that I'm going to make. So once I have those little pieces cut off, I'm then going to be painting them red. So I did 2 of them. And then I'm taking these little peppermints from Hobby Lobby and just hot gluing them on the top. I'm then going to take my candies and hot glue them inside of my greenery. I ended up adding a few of these little candy canes that were mini ornaments from Walmart, and I just hot glued those inside of the greenery as well, and then added one of those mini gingerbread men that Lisa sent. And to top things off, or to finish things off, I ended up using this Merry and Bright mini ornament, and I just tied it around the front of my bottle, and that was it for this project. I think it turned out great. I love all of the little details with the red and white. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Would you have created something like this with a bottle or something else? Moving into DIY number 6 for this project, I'm going to be using the little spatula that came with those cookie cutters that Lisa sent. I'm removing the spatula part, and then I'm just going to be having the wood part and then this wood piece that I had in my craft stash. It was already painted ivory, but I wanted it white, so I'm going to be just painting the entire thing white. I then had this ornament from Walmart, and I'm just going to be taking it apart. They pulled off really easily, and then I'm painting the rectangle ones with a white chalk paint, and then the ones with the little point or the arrow on the end, I painted both of those red. So 2 red and 2 white ones. Then I went over and found that there was another little piece to it that I could use as my base. So here I'm painting the base part white as well. I went over to my Cricut and I did 4 cutouts, one that said Candy Cane Lane, Hot Cocoa, Peppermint Bark, and Gingerbread. And now I'm going to start piecing everything together. I attached the top part, and then here you'll see I'm just going red, white for my little directional sign that I have going on here. For the base piece, I wanted to have some detail, and I needed to use the chenille stems. So here I'm using a red and white striped one, and I'm hot gluing it around all of the outside edges of my base piece. Then I'm just hot gluing that onto my directional sign. To make it a little more sturdy, I ended up adding a block along the back side, but this is what it looks like all finished. I really like this one. It would go perfect on a tiered tray. I forgot to show you that I did make some candy canes and added those on, as well as the gingerbread man. Moving right along into DIY number 7. For this one, I'm using those tulip stems that Lisa sent me, and I got rid of the tulip part, and I'm just going to be using the stems. You could probably already guess what I'm doing with them. I am just shaping them both into a candy cane shape. So once I have the shapes made, I'm then going into my fabric stash, and I pulled out some red and white fabric. I'm cutting 2 long strips, and then I'm just gonna start wrapping that around my stems. I used hot glue every once in a while just to keep the fabric in place. But once I got them wrapped, I'm gonna set them aside because I'm gonna be adding some other things to this project. I I found this arrow in my craft stash from Dollar Tree and I thought it would be perfect for this. So here I'm just painting it red, and then once that was dry, I'm painting over a crackle medium because I want this piece to have a crackle effect. Once that's dry, I'm then going over it with a white paint, and then I let that dry, and of course as it dries it starts to crackle. I'm going to be using these unfinished wood letters from my stash to spell out the words Candy Cane Lane, and you can see here I'm just making them all black. Next, I'm going to go back to the candy canes. I am hot gluing them over top of each other together, and then adding one of these little cute bows that's made from some really small rope that I had. So once I have that done, I'm going to start piecing everything together. I am hot gluing the words Candy Cane Lane right in the center of my arrow. And then I'm attaching the candy canes on the left-hand side using some hot glue. But because I needed to add some chenille stems, I took this red and white one apart because I only want to use the white part of it. And then I'm going to be making it into a little curly Q by wrapping it around a paintbrush. I then took that curly piece and I'm just going to be weaving it around that jute hanger on the top. I think that just added such a cute little detail to this sign. Again, I just have it laid on a table to show you what it looks like finished since I have no hangers available. They're all in a box somewhere. Hopefully I'll get to that soon. Now moving along to the 8th and final DIY for today. This one, I'm going to be using the paper that Lisa sent me. It's just a really pretty red paper with some light colored stars. And I'm also using this broken rolling pin that I had in my craft stash, but no worries, I will be piecing it back together. So here you can see I'm cutting a piece of that paper so that it is the size that I need to go around my rolling pin. Once I have it cut out, I'm then going to be using some Mod Podge to then attach it to the center portion of my rolling pin. Then for the paper that hung over on the sides, I went ahead and just used some sandpaper to sand them down smoothly and cut them up. Next, I am going to be taking the ends of, or the handles of the rolling pins, and I'm painting them white, which I wish I wouldn't have now that I've seen the project all done, but it's okay. So anyway, I'm painting them white, and then now I'm just going to be hot gluing them onto each side of the center portion to then put my rolling pin back together. I have this unfinished wood framed piece from Hobby Lobby, and I'm staining it with the walnut wood tint around the entire frame. I'm then painting the inside with a white paint, and then I'm using this stencil that I had in my craft stash. I've used it before, but I only wanted to use the words baked fresh daily, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut my stencil to where I just have those words. I'm then going to take that stencil, I place it at the very top of my sign, and I use some tape to hold it down into place. And then for my stencil, I'm just going to be using a black paint on a stencil brush. Once it was all dry, I went ahead and removed the stencil. Now I'm attaching the rolling pin at the bottom of my sign right in the center, and then I'm going to be using these little gingerbread men and women that I found at Hobby Lobby. I'm using 2 of the boys and 2 of the girls and just placing them in the center of my sign and then hot gluing them down. And then because I needed to add a chenille stem, I am using this red and white piece. I'm just creating a really cute little bow, and I thought it would be such a cute little detail if I added it to the left-hand side of my sign. So once I get the bow all finished, I'm gluing it to my sign. And this is the project all finished. You can probably tell why I wanted to switch out the handle color because the white just kind of washes out with the white background, but I can always fix that later on. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified of any of my future videos. And also don't forget to go and click on the playlist down in my description box so that you can check out everyone's videos that are in today's mystery box challenge. And also don't forget to let me know which project you liked best from today's video. Thank you so much for watching.